2 days before she was supposed to become a wife, Mariah made a decision she didn't tell us all about. The dress was steamed. The venue was booked. Her fiancé, Dorian, was somewhere rehearsing his vows, probably practicing how to say her name with just enough love to make the whole room cry. But Mariah, she was staring at her phone, scrolling through a number she had deleted more than once. And then she called it. It had been over a year since she'd heard that voice. Deep, dangerous, comforting in a way that made no sense. Malik, her ex, her first real love, her biggest mistake. The man who once made her feel like the center of the universe, and then shattered her into pieces, just to see how fast she'd put herself back together for him. She told herself it was just for closure. Just one last conversation before she turned the page. Before she married a man who actually loved her, without breaking her down first. What she didn't know was that Malik hadn't turned the page. And what started with a call ended in a hotel room, a whisper of regret, and a sudden flash of violence that would change everything. This is the story of Mariah Jefferson, a woman caught between peace and passion, between the kind of love that holds you gently and the kind that grips so tight it draws blood. She thought she had it under control. She didn't. Stay with us, because what happened next will not only break your heart, but open your eyes to how easy it is to mistake danger for desire. And if you've ever loved the wrong person just a little too long, this story is for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next story might just save a life. Mariah Jefferson had finally started breathing again. At 28, she was exactly where she thought she'd never be. Calm, grounded, engaged with a man who made her feel like home. Her life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. And for someone like Mariah, peace was more than enough. She lived in a quiet neighborhood in Atlanta, worked full-time as a social worker at a community center, and spent most of her Sundays in church, singing in the choir with her whole heart. Her days were filled with helping teenagers escape cycles she knew all too well. Poverty, anger, abandonment. The work was heavy, but she carried it like a badge. After all, she had lived through worse. Her fiancé, Dorian Pierce, was everything she didn't know she needed. He was 31, smooth in spirit, not in flash. A tall, broad-shouldered man with gentle eyes and a voice that always stayed calm. They met at her church. He offered to walk her car one rainy Sunday, holding her umbrella, like he was protecting something sacred. That small act opened a door she thought she'd lock forever. Their love grew slow and steady. No games, no pressure, no sex, just quiet mornings with gospel music playing low. Conversations about God, healing, and what it means to feel safe in someone else's presence. Dorian respected her boundaries, listened when she spoke, and never once made her feel small. He proposed under a magnolia tree in her grandmother's yard, the same yard where she used to play as a little girl. He brought her grandmother roses, asked for her blessing, and got down on one knee like the Southern gentleman he was raised to be. She cried before he even finished his speech, said yes before he could ask twice. And yet, even as her new life unfolded with joy, a shadow followed her like an echo. That shadow had a name, Malik Chaos Darnell. He was 33 now, but still the man who had once turned her entire world upside down. A man with a past, a record, and a way of making her feel like the only woman in the room. Even when he was lying through his teeth, Malik was the kind of danger that made your heart race, and your logic leave the room. When she was with him, it felt like flying through a storm without a seatbelt. Terrifying, but thrilling. He made her feel wanted, needed, addicted, even when it hurt. He had just been released after doing 5 years. She heard from someone's cousin that he was back in Atlanta, still slick, still dangerous, still not over her. She hadn't seen him since the night she left for good, but the thought of him lingered. The way he used to touch her hair, the way he whispered her name when he was high, the pain, the passion, the pull. Dorian gave her peace. But Malik had given her fire. And some nights, when she lay awake beside Dorian, staring at the ceiling and wondering how she ever survived the mess she left behind, she couldn't help but wonder if Malik ever thought about her too. Mariah met Malik when she was just 21. She had just started working part-time at a beauty salon off Cascade Road. Her life was simple, quiet, full of promise. She dreamed of owning her own shop, marrying someone stable, maybe having a couple kids in a brick house. But all that shifted the day Malik walked in. He wasn't scheduled, just showed up needing a shape-up, wore his hoodie halfway over his head, Air Maxes squeaky clean, and a chipped tooth that made his grin a little too dangerous. He had that look in his eye, the one that made you feel like you were already his, like you'd been his in another lifetime, too. He called her Queen the first time they spoke, gave her his number on the back of the receipt, and before she could finish reading the name Chaos scribbled in Sharpie, she was texting him back. Within weeks, they were inseparable. Long drives around the city, late-night food runs, making out in parking lots with the music up and the windows fogged. He didn't have much, but he made her feel like the only prize that mattered. And then the storms came, the jealousy, the mood swings, the accusations. It started with small things, demanding to see her phone, questioning her friends, following her to work just to make sure. One night, outside of a friend's birthday dinner, he accused her of flirting with a waiter and punched the wall beside her head so hard it left a dent. She screamed. He cried, told her, "I'm sorry, Ma. You know I just get triggered. I love you too much." She stayed. The first hit came after a party. He'd been drinking. She laughed too long at someone's joke. That was all it took. He backhanded her in the car. Blood trickled from her lip onto her dress. He drove her home in silence. The next morning, he was all apologies, bought her a necklace, left her love notes, made her favorite meal, told her he was working on his anger, that he needed her to help him heal. And she believed him, because the makeup moments always felt like a movie, like real love, like what people meant when they said relationships took work. But real love doesn't leave you in the ER, bruised and broken. Real love doesn't make you feel like you're walking on eggshells while wrapped in barbed wire. Still, it took her years to leave, because when Malik wasn't violent, he was captivating. He'd call her late at night just to say her name. He made her feel seen, even if it was through cracked glass. And trauma bonds have a way of looking a lot like loyalty when you've been in the storm too long. The final time was the worst. He accused her of cheating with a co-worker she barely spoke to, smashed her phone against the wall, then grabbed her by the throat and shoved her into a closet door so hard it cracked. That night, she left. For real. She stayed with a friend, blocked his number, switched jobs, even moved to a different apartment. She started therapy, started praying again, started reclaiming pieces of herself she thought were gone forever. It took time, but she began to heal. And then Dorian walked in, not with noise, not with fire, but with a quiet, steady love that felt like water on a wound. He never raised his voice, never raised a hand, never made her feel like love had to hurt to be worth it. He gave her softness, safety, a future, and yet that future now had a crack in glass, because as the wedding approached, as she prepared to say yes to a man who gave her the world without asking her to bleed for it, she couldn't shake the memory of the man who did. It was 2 days before the wedding. Mariah sat alone in her bridal suite, surrounded by soft music, silk robes, champagne flutes, and silence. Her bridesmaids had gone downstairs to give her some space. She told them she needed to rest. But rest was the last thing on her mind. The dress was hanging on the back of the door, the lace veil draped neatly over a chair. Her name, Mrs. Mariah Pierce, was stitched onto a white satin robe like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. And still, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She picked up her phone, stared at the screen like it held answers. She scrolled past the text from Dorian. Sweet messages. I love you. Can't wait to see you at the altar. Forever starts in 48 hours. But her thumb kept moving until it hovered over an unsaved number she hadn't dared to delete. Malik. She hadn't spoken to him in over a year. Not since the night she ran. Not since the night she finally chose herself over the fire he lit inside her. But today, something inside her cracked. It wasn't that she missed the bruises. She didn't miss the shouting, the threats, the eggshells. What she missed was the thrill, the danger, that magnetic chaos he brought with him, the way he could make her forget the world with just one look. She told herself it was just one call, just to hear his voice, just to remind herself why she left. Her finger hovered for a moment longer. Then she tapped call. It didn't even ring twice. Yo. His voice, smooth, lazy, like smoke curling from a match. She froze. He knew it was her. I knew you'd call, he said, low and smug. I've been waiting on you. Mariah's heart thudded in her chest. Her mouth was dry. I shouldn't have, she whispered. But you did. He laughed softly. Still sound like you, though. Soft. Sweet. Ain't nobody ever said my name like you, Ma. Don't call me that, she snapped. But it came out weak. You getting married? Huh? That what I heard. She didn't answer. Why you calling me then? He asked. You miss me? She closed her eyes. Swallowed. I just needed to hear your voice. That's it. He didn't buy it. And deep down, neither did she. Come see me. Malik said one last time. You owe me that. Mariah knew she didn't owe him a damn thing. But against all logic, she said yes. The city looked different that night. Quieter, slower, like it knew something was about to break. Mariah pulled up to the downtown hotel in a car. She didn't even remember driving. Her hands were steady, but her heartbeat tapped against her ribs like it wanted out. She sat in the parking lot for 5 full minutes before she moved. One hand on the wheel, the other holding her phone. The screen still open to Malik's last text. Room 79. I'll be waiting. It felt like a test, a trap, a final exam she already knew she was going to fail. She went inside anyway. The elevator ride was silent. Her reflection in the mirror looked like a woman who didn't know what she was doing. Hair curled, lip gloss fresh, heart confused. She kept telling herself she just wanted closure, that she just wanted to look him in the face and remember why she left. But when the elevator doors opened and she walked down that long hallway toward his room, she knew it was something else, something deeper, something dangerous. She knocked once. The door opened like he had been standing behind it, waiting. And there he was, Malik Chaos Darnell, standing in the soft hotel light, like a ghost she never truly buried. He smelled like her favorite cologne. He wore a clean black tee, fresh jeans, and a gold chain. His eyes scanned her like he already knew he still had power. You look good, he said, letting the door open wider. Mariah stepped in. The room was clean, dim, quiet. She could hear the hum of the air conditioner, the distant sounds of city traffic far below. They sat across from each other. Not too close. Not yet. For a while they just talked. He asked about her job, about her grandmother, about church, about her wedding. You really gonna marry that dude? Malik finally asked, his tone flat. His name's Dorian, she said. And yes, I am. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You ain't like that, Ma. You're not that soft church girl. You need real. You need fire. You need me. I need peace, she said. He stared at her long and hard. Then he got up, crossed the room, and sat beside her. Close. Too close. I still love you, he said. Then he leaned in, and she didn't move. One kiss. One moment of weakness. One step back into a fire she thought she'd escaped. They fell into the bed like no time had passed. His hands remembered every inch of her. Her body responded like it had been waiting. The passion was wild, reckless, wrong. And when it was over, silence filled the room again. She got up first, wrapped the sheet around her, picked up her phone. I have to go, she said. Malik sat on the edge of the bed, watching her, his face unreadable. You can't marry him, he said, voice lower. Not after this. Mariah turned, shaking her head slowly. This doesn't change anything. I'm still marrying him. The shift was instant. Malik's jaw tightened. His hands balled into fists. What you mean it don't change nothing? He said, standing. Mariah started gathering her things, her purse, her phone, her jacket. I shouldn't have come, she said, more to herself than him. "You're not walking out of here like that." Malik snapped. "You're not going to act like I ain't still in your blood." "Malik, let me go." She headed toward the door, but he stepped in front of her. "Move," she said. "No, move," she said again, her voice trembling now. That's when he grabbed her arm. Hard. Her phone hit the floor. She screamed and yanked away, but he shoved her back against the wall. "You're not leaving me again," he shouted. Then, from his jacket, a flash of silver. A blade. "Malik, please," she begged, both hands in the air, her voice barely a whisper now. "I gave you everything," he said, eyes wild. "Everything." Then came the first stab. Then the second. She gasped sharp, shallow. Her body folded. But he didn't stop. 15 times. 15 slashes of rage. 15 declarations of twisted love. 15 ways to say, "If I can't have you, no one can." She collapsed to the carpet. Blood soaking through the hotel towels. Her vision blurring. He dropped the knife and stood over her for a second, breathing hard. Then he ran. Mariah didn't know how she moved. Her body was broken, but her spirit wasn't. She crawled, inch by inch, toward the hallway. By the grace of God, a hotel guest stepped off the elevator just as she reached the door. They screamed, called 911, wrapped her in a blanket, and somehow she lived. She was in critical condition, on life support. The doctors didn't know if she would make it through the night. Her family camped outside the ICU, praying, crying, begging God for a miracle. And while Mariah fought for her life, Malik Chaos Darnell ran for 17 hours. Nobody knew where he was. His phone was off. His car was ditched. But the city talks, and karma always listens. By the next afternoon, he was found hiding in his cousin's apartment on the west side, lying on the couch like nothing had happened. Shirt clean, knife gone, no shame on his face. When police busted in, he didn't resist. He just smirked and said, "I knew y'all was coming." In the interrogation room, he didn't cry, didn't apologize. When asked why he did it, his answer was cold, almost bored. "If I can't have her, nobody can." He said it like a punchline. The prosecution didn't need to dig far. The evidence was everywhere. Security footage from the hotel, the blood-soaked sheets, the texts, the 911 call, witnesses, nurses, doctors. Mariah had survived, and she would testify. But not right away. She spent the first 11 days in a coma. When she finally woke up, her mother was at her bedside, gripping her hand like she could keep her daughter on this side of life through touch alone. Mariah couldn't speak. Her throat was too damaged. Her body was covered in bandages. Machines beeped and blinked around her like a choir of warning bells. It was weeks before she could even sit up, months before she could walk. She spent 3 months in the hospital, 3 long months of rehab, surgeries, nightmares, and the kind of emotional pain no doctor could stitch up. But she was alive, scarred but alive. Her wedding dress remained in the closet where she left it, still clean, still white, still untouched. A ghost of a future that would never happen. Dorian came to see her every day. He brought her flowers, read scripture at her bedside, held her hand when the nurses changed her bandages. He cried in the hospital chapel when no one was watching. The woman he was about to marry had slept with another man, but that man nearly killed her. And in the face of that pain, his heart didn't run. He stayed. They talked about everything, the truth, the guilt, the mistakes, the trauma. And when Mariah finally asked, "Do you still love me?" he nodded without blinking. But love, no matter how deep, couldn't erase what had happened. They didn't get married. Not out of anger. Not out of shame. But because Mariah needed time. Space. A chance to figure out who she was now. After Malik, after the hospital, after the fire. Dorian respected that. He never pushed. He never left. He was there for her in every way that mattered. But their love, as pure and good as it was, never returned to the altar. Malik's trial was brutal. Mariah had to sit in the same room as the man who nearly killed her. He wouldn't look away. He watched her walking on crutches, bandages still on her arms, makeup carefully covering the worst of the scarring. He smiled, and when the jury saw the photos, the evidence, heard her voice tremble on the stand, there was no question. He was found guilty. Attempted murder, aggravated assault, possession of a weapon by a felon. The judge didn't hold back. 45 years in prison. No parole. And this time, there were no second chances. No deals. No, but I loved her. The courtroom was silent when the sentence came down. Recovery was a long road. Mariah had to relearn how to move without pain, how to sleep without nightmares, how to love herself in a body that didn't feel like her own anymore. But she did it. They say trauma never really leaves you. It just gets quieter with time. Mariah still has scars. She still flinches when someone raises their voice. She still wakes up sometimes gasping for air, heart racing, remembering the hotel room floor. But she's alive. And more than anything, she's free. Sometimes the past doesn't knock. It waits quietly until your new life is just within reach, then shows up wearing that same old cologne, whispering the same sweet lies, hoping you've forgotten the bruises. Mariah didn't forget. She just wanted to feel what it used to be one last time, and it nearly killed her. If you're still emotionally tied to someone who once made you feel small, broken, afraid, please listen to the part of you that craves peace. Not chaos disguised as love. Not pain dressed up as passion. You deserve more. Drop a comment. Share your truth. Or just say, I'm still healing. You never know who needs to hear it. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is Ruthless Realities. Until next time.